Next, we have a comment from TJ Hallam, and I am going to pare this down because it is a long comment. He says, given how beautiful the Soyuz mics are, I went to their website to learn more. There I found the Our Story page, which says, the Soyuz factory known as the base wouldn't look out of place if it were transported back to the 1960s. It's very much like what you would have found in one of the premier microphone production facilities of that period. Manual lathes and drill presses, white lab coats, and analog testing machines. Everything from the way we machine our backplates and tune our capsules to how we wind our transformers is done much the same way as it was 60 years ago by companies like Neumann, hello Neumann, and AKG. The manufacturing techniques used in that era created a sonic character that is impossible to achieve using modern, computer-controlled techniques. So, is this distinction between the quote-unquote human touch and modern CNC milled mics a real thing, or is Soyuz just conveniently giving us a nostalgic and embellished lens through which to view an outdated production facility? I guess what I'm asking is, does Soyuz's beauty go more than skin deep? Also, you made an offhand comment about Soyuz mics being made, or perhaps out of, old military equipment. This sounds like a potentially cool side note. Would love to know more details. TJ, thank you very much for the comment. I really do appreciate it. Those are some great questions. I think that's a ding, 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 ding. Those are some great questions. As far as the quote-unquote human touch versus the computer-controlled machining of modern mics and the discrepancy therein to sound like a douche, I don't know. The reason I'm saying that, I don't have access to handmade microphones from the 1960s from the likes of Neumann and AKG. I don't have the budget to have access to those microphones. I would love to. I would love to get my hands on an original Neumann U67 or a late stage U47. I would love nothing more. Well, there's a lot that I would love more than that, but that would be really exciting to try those out. But I think we could make an argument here. I think that the imperfections in audio equipment is what makes a lot of audio equipment interesting. If we look at preamps, for example, back in the 60s, the engineers were attempting to make the most pristine preamps possible, clean amplification. But the pre's that we end up loving are the preamps that have coloration, that distort, which is not what they wanted. That is a fault in their design. They were searching for pristine, clean, non-distorting gain, amplification for microphones. They failed at that, but we love that because of that imperfection, because it adds a flavor to the audio. So because of that, I think we can argue that the imperfections in audio equipment is what makes specific audio equipment interesting, and we could then argue that hand-building microphones is likely to produce more imperfections. So I think that is what they could be getting at. You are going to be getting that more unique sound by buying a handmade microphone. When you look at Rode mics like the NT1 or the LCT 440, or is it the 540, the Lewitt 640? I don't know which Lewitt mic, but any two of them are a matched set. They're able to do that because they are controlled via computer. The components are selected very specifically, and they meet a criteria. They have such a high threshold that any two of their microphones are a matched set. With vintage microphones, you could never do that because from mic to mic, they were very different sounding. At least from my understanding, U67 to U67 would be very different sounding, especially because the microphones were much more fragile, and back then, people would abuse them. They would smoke right next to the microphone, and that buildup of tar on the diaphragm of the mic is going to impact the sound. So I think, yes, it is just marketing by saying it's the human touch, But to me, that's pretty cool. That none of the microphones are going to be the same. If you're looking for scientific accuracy, of course, you're not going to be reaching for one of these or a set of these because they are going to differ. But as far as being a hipster douchebag, there's something appealing. There's something appealing about that. Oh yeah, everybody loves the SM7B, and everybody who buys an SM7B is going to sound the same. If the Soyuz mics became the next SM7B, yes, everybody might love the SU-023 bomblet, but none of them are going to sound identical, and that's kind of cool. And I think that is what they're getting at. So it really depends on what you're looking for in your microphone. Are you looking for exactly the same performance from mic to mic? Or are you looking for something that is a little bit unique? It's going to have imperfections. It's going to have flaws. Do you want your mic to be like a human, or do you want it to be like a robot? That may be unfair because robots are pretty cool too, right? Right? People like, I don't know. What am I talking about? And then as far as the old military equipment, I will include a photograph here. This is from the 1973 that I just got. This is a card in there. Their manual lathes were bought or acquired from the old Kalashnikov factories. Are those the people who made the AK-47? So they are using manual lathes that were used to make weapons for the military or for the black market, wherever the AK-47s went. Assuming that I am correct that the Kalashnikov was the AK-47 factory. Then yes, they are using machinery that used to make military weapons. That's pretty cool. On that note, I got a comment saying, I will never buy a microphone from a Russian company because of the government and the war. And my response was, because I looked into this, because I thought, hey, that's interesting. And I don't shove my ideals or politics or stances down people's throat on my main channel. I'm sure if you've been listening to this show for a while, you remember the whole issue, the struggle that I went through with the entire Chinese manufacturing and my ethical concerns with that. This was kind of the same thing, so I looked into it. Soyuz actually hired people away from weapons manufacturers. So they took away high-quality, skilled lathe operators or engineers, whatever, machinists from companies that were making weapons to contribute to the war. They hired them away to make microphones. So not only did they remove an employee from making things that kill people, but they pay them a higher wage too. They also took the machines from those. I don't want to say they took them, but they acquired them from weapons manufacturers. So if your issue is with Russia and the war, shouldn't you be thrilled with Soyuz because they are pulling people and machines away from the war machine? To sound redundant, they're pulling machines away from the war machine. You get what I'm trying to say. So that was an interesting comment that I got, and it kind of goes into your question. Thank you very much, TJ. Is that it for that card? That card is done.